The other main thing that you see as far as this is what we call a rating scale. And rating is probably what you've seen probably more often than maybe even the ranking. And employees tend to like rating scales because they're a little bit more objective. So, for example, in this communication skill, written and oral ability to clearly and convincingly express thoughts, ideas, or facts in an individual or group settings. That's an aspect that a manager is rating an employee on. Well, then we circle the one that best associates with that employee, whether we think that person's well above average, or below average. Now, again, it still can create issues if the employee and the manager aren't on the same page and they have widely different views on what it is. But the good news is at least this provides a little bit more objectivity, and employees tend to appreciate this manner better. One of the biggest trends that we're seeing right now, just in general with performance evaluations, especially the companies that have decided to keep them, is what we call MBO, Management by Objective. We use outcomes as the standard performance measure, not necessarily the skills that you've developed or your ability to get along with coworkers or anything along those lines. We're measuring you based on the outcome. Did you accomplish? So as you can see in this example, here's the objective and here was the result. We want to make sure the outcome is what we're measuring. You notice I put this class as an example of this, and if you think about it, this is an MBO. So whatever, I have certain objectives that I want you to meet as a student, and we have certain ways to make sure that you accomplish that, either through a paper that you write, an online forum, an exam. Once you've demonstrated your knowledge, then you're rewarded based on how you perform, i.e. your grade. So this class is actually a prime example of MBO. And again, you can certainly argue if the way I grade or the way what I have you do is fair or not. That's certainly up for debate. But the good news is, at least what I'm trying to do is provide a fair and objective way to make sure you're understanding the material and accomplishing what I hope that you will take away from this class. So MBO, again, from that perspective, is becoming very, very popular in business. Couple things that I really want to focus on as far as why employees tend to are fearful of performance evaluations is all the errors that can come from a rater perspective, and I want to talk about some of them. First off is what we call the halo error, and think of just a little bit of a little halo on the person's head. Somebody who literally there's one thing that they do well. And because they do that one thing well, it becomes the overpowering characteristic. So for example, if I have an employee who, is just when you put him or her in a group environment, they're just really good. They're a good team player. But when they're by themselves, they can't accomplish anything. For whatever reason. But if part of my evaluation of that in person is what they do by themselves, I may be like, they do a good job as a team member, so what? They're still doing good, so I'm not going to worry about that other stuff. I'll just say that they're a good employee. So basically, I only focus on the goodness of the person, so that's what we call a halo. But it doesn't take into account all the other stuff they're not living up to expectations that we're not factoring in. And the exact opposite of the halo, think of it, the horn effect. It's the exact opposite. It's focusing only on the negative stuff and just focusing solely on that and not worrying about the good things that they provide. So again, employees notice this very quickly, and it's something that it's a major issue. One thing that I see a lot also, especially in my role here at OSU, is first impression error. Whatever the first impression I have of somebody, that controls moving forward. Whether they do good, bad, or indifferent moving forward, it doesn't matter to me. I'm only caring about what my first perception of them is. It's a major issue. And the recency area is probably the most common that I see. And the reason it is because, most managers in my experience really want to do right by employees, want employees to feel like want to be liked by their employees, want to see their employees succeed. So let's say I do my evaluation in March of every year. Well, let's say I've had 11 previous months of just not good performance by my employee. But you know what? When it came to February, right before the evaluation, they started doing a little bit better. They started, whatever thing I want them to accomplish. So then that becomes my whole evaluation is I only focus on what they've done recently. And, they may have had major issues 6 months ago, but you know what? Because of recency error, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to focus on now. So again, it's good that you're rewarding them for recent performance, but what about all the past performance? And managers tend to forget that a lot of the times. Here's a couple more list of errors that we see a lot. Leniency error, someone rating someone higher than is deserved is kind of related to what we were just talking about. Severity, kind of, the opposite of that. Central tendency error is something that I see a lot with managers who are kind of lethargic and who just don't really want to do it. They do an evaluation. Their perception is, let me just rate everybody the same. You know what? They're all kind of the same. Some do things better than others, but you know what? They're all just decent employees. Let me just give everybody a 3 across the board and be done with it. And obviously that can create a lot of issues because then that to me shows lack of care, and frankly, it shows laziness. So again, these are some of the main errors that you will see in the appraisal process. The last thing I want to talk about this chapter is really about, how companies can get in trouble legally with these types of things. The EEO, the Equal Employment Opportunity Office, my office specifically here at OSU, when we look at these things, we really look at the legal aspects. And you can see the courts stress 6 issues in setting up these types of systems. These 6 items that are listed here are things that courts basically ask employers to make sure that it's very clear when they're doing evaluations. If your company is not doing one of these 6 things, you could be in trouble legally because it doesn't give an employee the opportunity to understand and fully question and to fully understand the aspects of what they're being evaluated on. So employees that maybe sue their employees based on discrimination or based on unfair discrimination or unfair dismissal, they will point to usually one of these 6 aspects as, hey, I was definitely treated unfairly in these areas. Courts are very known to really look at these things and really determine what is going on with them. So things that we really want to make sure we pay attention to. Until next time, thank you again, class. Appreciate your time.